Hello, you beautiful bastards. I hope you're having a nice day. Today, I come to you with another topic. I did a couple of changes because I was not liking how the setup looked like. But now, I think it feels a little bit better, right? In Who is this creepypasta? Today, we will talk about lost episodes. Once upon a time in the export, a place where writers fascinated with the occult and cursed had a ripe environment where to thrive. A time where the only objective was to scare some kids. Some writers honed their craft creating nightmarish stories, devilish monsters, all developed within the twisted mind of their creators, while others made vile use of our favorite shows, expanding upon them with a terrific tale. SpongeBob, the Rugrats, The Simpsons, even newer shows like Steven Universe or The Amazing World of Gumball. All of these shows twisted into nightmare fuel for any young kid straying too far into the internet. Now, if creepypasta was a literacy genre, then lost episodes would be like the fanfic subgenre. Because that's basically what they are, right? They are basically a fanfiction of a popular show, always talking about a never released episode or a deleted one. They contain some kind of horror aspect to it, always linked with some kind of paranormal or gory thing. Oftentimes being flickering or cursed music or jump scares, you know the stuff. Today we will talk about 3 of them in specific. I'm thinking of doing this in multiple parts. So in difference to the small dog video, with this one we will actually cover 3 creepypastas together. You can leave me a comment if you think this format is better or if you would like for me to go one in one. Now, Squidward's S-Word, 2006, although some other sources say 2013. I don't think we need to introduce SpongeBob. We all know it, I watched it as a kid, you probably did as well. A series so popular, it's still being milked to this day, like The Simpsons. Now we will talk about the lost episode of SpongeBob, called Squidward's S-Word, where our protagonist this time is Squidward, a relatable doomer. A person cynical, depressed, who is average at his passions. You know, just a relatable individual actually. As an adult, I think I can relate to him more than any other character in the show. The pasta talks about a supposed cursed episode that was sent to early watchers and interns in Nickelodeon's studio. Episode starts like normal, happy music, tun turun tun tun, tun 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 turun tun tun, Squidward sucking at his saxophone, and then Bob laughing outside. Squidward gets angry about this and then yells through his window, telling Bob to shut up. In this episode, Squidward had a concert that night, so that's why he was practicing, and he seemed a little bit on edge. We then jump into the concert. Squidward sucks ass, he gets booed, and he ends up offing himself later in his room. All throughout the latest part of the pasta, there are images of mutilated children flashing across the screen. Obviously, this is not your normal shenanigans, right? Even though shows can sometimes be a little bit disturbing, a little bit controversial, or talk about deep topics, this is just straight up gore and unaliving idealization. There's also a more supernatural aspect at the end of it, where it's mentioned that when they try to get the author, right, or any kind of clue as to who made this animation, it was revealed that the animation was edited only a couple of seconds before it was delivered to the early watchers, which is something that it's impossible, right? I mean, no one can make such a piece of art, right, with just only a couple of seconds. This creepypasta is actually most of the time is referred as Red Mist, although in the original version no such mention of that name is made. I read that Red Mist is a reference to what happens when you pew pew your head and the cloud, right, that appears afterwards, that's the Red Mist. And I think actually it originated in the videos of the Squidward's S-Word, not the pasta itself, but the videos that were creations or recreations of the pasta. Talking about recreations, we have a lot of them. A lot of fun recreations created across the years. Some being as new as only 1 year old. So imagine this, a pasta that's more than 10 years old is still receiving new content in the form of fanfic of the fanfic, basically, which is something that I find amazing. Of note, I'm going to mention a few. This one, I think it's the original or one of the original Red Mist videos. Honestly, it feels more like a deep fried meme than a pasta. It holds a lot of hilarious still images, and the animation I just find it funny. It also feels a little bit slow with the overuse of the images themselves and the slow amps of the music, which is something that it's fairly common for the pastas of this time. Still, in a way, it does feel more like a rough sketch or a draft of an episode than some of the higher end productions that we would see today. Like, for example, the Red Mist retake, which is a fun animation that was uploaded only 3 to 4 years ago, in the middle of 2022. This one feels pretty high effort. It has a cohesive story, it has dialogue, it diverges a little bit from the original story, but keeps the core parts intact. The only caveat is that it's actually a slideshow, so it doesn't really have animation, but it doesn't detract from the experience. I still find it pretty good and actually one of my favorites. Then we have another one that's only 1 year old that uses a lot of the animations from the show, and I find it also pretty good, although it skips a bunch of the ending. Then we have a variety of content surrounding Red Mist as well. For example, we have one guy showing it to his 10-year-old sibling, which actually the guy filming seemed more scared than the kid, so that's a little bit entertaining. Oh god! Then there's another YouTube video ranking all of the Red Mist recreations, for example. I didn't watch that video yet, but if you want to see what else did people come up with in terms of their own versions or their own takes on Red Mist, then you can give it a go to see what else is out there. There's also even a fun game of Red Mist in itch.io. You may have actually seen your favorite gaming YouTube channel play it at some point. Talking about some pieces that are not in the original pasta, that scene where the fisherman or the guy, or depends on what you were seeing, right, depends on the version of the video, knocks on Squidward's door and then says something like, "The Red Mist is coming," or something like that. Which my guess is that's where the Red Mist mention comes from. But yeah, that is on something that's anime only. It doesn't really appear in the texts. And actually, the image that appears whenever you look at the Red Mist or whenever you look at Squidward's S-word is not the original image from the pasta. In one of the allegedly author's posts, where they actually show a picture of a very, very old Xboard 7chan post, we see another picture of Squidward. Still pretty altered, still pretty traumatized Squidward, but not the same one that we see today. The earliest depictions that I could find of the image that we know Red Mist for now was actually kind of in the same year, like 14 years ago, 2010, 29, something like that, as the thumbnail or the background of some narrations of the pasta actually. Here I found, for example, a couple of surviving Spanish videos of that creepypasta, around 14 years ago. Then, in 2013, it was used in the creepypasta Wikipedia entry, cementing it as the face of the pasta. It's a piece of media so well known that actually it appears in the original show as a gag in one of the newer seasons. Although it was later removed, I guess that someone noticed that pointing, even if in an indirect way, to a piece of horror fiction about mutilated children and S-word was not a really good idea for a kids show, right? Now we will move forward with S-word mouse. a story from 2009. Rivaling or even surpassing Squidward's S-word in popularity is S-word mouse. It seems like it actually is one of the inspirations for Squidward's S-word. Much less graphic than the Squidward story. This time we are with Mickey. Not the new Mickey, not the red shorts Mickey, we are on the old days, black and white Mickey. I myself have never watched those as a kid, so I cannot relate to the nostalgia of the pasta. In the episode we have Mickey walking in a city landscape. He seems to be walking through the street with no purpose, looking quite dejected. No happiness, no money, no car, no beaches, no nothing. Accompanying him is the weird sound of a piano being banged. This keeps going on until a black screen comes along. In the pasta lore, every person that got a hold of this episode somehow thought that it finished there, so they dropped it, until someone actually had the bright idea of putting it into their computer and noticing that it actually was a couple of minutes longer than when the black screen appeared. So a few minutes after the screen gets blacked, a jarring cry can be heard. And then we are back with Mickey walking, although now the city landscape is warped. The pasta describes it as something nonsensical and outside the law of physics. Although since it's an animation, like I don't know why is that such a weird thing, right? So yeah, my interpretation is it's that a weird acid trip video vibe kind of thing. The cry goes up in intensity until it just turns into a full-blown scream. Minutes pass with the scream and the walking going on. Our protagonist of the pasta, Leonard Maltin, which I guess is a reference to the real film critic of the same name, gets disturbed and walks outside, leaving one employee to watch the rest of the video. This employee finishes the video, then gets out of the office, grabs a pew-pew from a guard and offs himself. Before that, repeating "real suffering is not known" a couple of times. And then, pew-pew! There's a Russian text in the last frame of the video that says "the sights of hell bring its viewers back in." Now, I didn't really like the ending. I mean, I don't really like that Lovecraftian stuff of it's in your imagination what happened. I like my horror to be a little more explicit, right? So you have Lovecraft to thank for that genre, and also like if you don't know what I'm talking about, you can think of this episode of Rick and Morty where there's a cat that can speak and then for some reason they get inside their head, right? And then basically they just decide that it was not worth living anymore thanks to seeing that. That's the kind of stuff that I don't really like. I prefer to give me a little more context, right? The real deal though for this creepypasta are the videos made for it, just like with the Red Mist. Although the Red Mist, in my opinion, holds a little bit of its own on the pasta itself, on the text, while this Mickey Mouse one it's a little weaker on that front, but it still has a pretty good bunch of videos. I mean, they were pretty well crafted for their time. I got bored watching them, but that's because I have today's attention span, right? At that time, it was actually something pretty unique and pretty mysterious and pretty coarse to look at. This creepypasta seems to have been created in 2009 by Alexander Kolafi, posted in the X-World in 4chan. A couple of days later, a video by Jacob666 was made, and actually it seems like the real author got kind of obscured by this first upload of the YouTube video, since multiple sources like Know Your Meme and the Creepypasta Wiki attribute the original S-word mouse to Jacob. While it was in a meme wiki page where I actually found mentions of Kulafi being the first creator of the pasta. And yeah, reading a little bit more into some obscure pages, it seems that Kulafi is the real author, at least to me, and Jacob was one of its first readers that decided to make a video out of it, just like with a couple of days of difference. the paranormal aspect is not in your face that much. I mean, the only paranormal thing that happens is the fact that, well, this guy saw something so horrible that he decided to, well, pew pew, make a red mist. But, I mean, in terms of narrative, it feels more like something up for shock factor than a organic build-up. Now, we do have some interesting things surrounding the community of S-Word Mouse. For example, did you know that there was an Indiegogo campaign for a fan film of S-Word Mouse? It was something moved forward by a person of the name of Cristo Lopez. They made an Indiegogo campaign trying to raise $5,000, and they even made a trailer and a promo video for it. I watched them, and I mean, I was not really surprised. I didn't find a lot of... It was kind of like... The video was pretty generic, and I didn't really feel that anything had to do with S-Word Mouse outside of the mention and a couple of frames of the walking animation. But outside of that, I didn't really see the Mickey or the mouse or the S-Word Mouse in there at all. Still, this campaign didn't reach its goal. It only reached like $1,000, and then the project was just never made. This trailer is still out there if you want to look at it. Then there's the fact that there is an original S-Word Mouse in the official comics of Mickey Mouse. If we go back to 1930, drawer Floyd Gottfredson actually started working on the daily Mickey Mouse comic strip, which is something that's official, right? So Walt Disney was involved in it. They were the ones making Floyd make the comics. In these ones, we actually have a comic that I'm going to read for you. Gosh, I never thought Minnie would fall for somebody else. I can't believe yet that I saw her kiss that fellow Slicker. My eyes must have deceived me. Everybody seems happy. Why does the world have to be down on me? Oh, what? Oh, what's the use? She doesn't care for me anymore. What is there to live for? Without Minnie, I might as well end it all. It's no use. It's no use. Since Minnie's fallen for that Slicker, I'm lost. I'm like a ship without a sail, so I might as well drift into the hereafter. Goodbye, Minnie. Goodbye, cruel world. 1, 2. Cuckoo, cuckoo, cuckoo. I guess he's right at that. It's no use. I can't get Minnie off of my mind. I just can't go on without her. It's the river for me. Goodbye, Minnie. Goodbye, cruel world. A stowaway, eh? Well, y'all get no publicity out of this trip. It's into the water for you. Help! No, please don't. I can't swim. I might drown. Without Minnie, all my dreams have become nightmares. I'll turn on this gas and end it once and for all. Goodbye, Minnie. Goodbye, cruel world. Oh, free gas for my balloon. Pong! Help! I think I'm shot. Basically, we have a couple of comic strips where we see Mikey trying different kinds of S-word methods without actually succeeding, but not because he had a change of heart or anything, more than he just was not successful. So this is not your feel good, right, or profound message about anti S-word, right? This is just Mikey trying and failing at it. So yeah, that was the comic, and it's an official comic from the time, and well, it has a nice ending, it has a happy ending. Mickey doesn't do anything, doesn't get through with anything, right? So that's good, but still it kind of speaks volume about what was normal or what was socially acceptable to talk about and in which way, right? And yeah, this Floyd guy was actually some person that ended up working 40 years drawing Mickey. So it was not like one-off or like one of those weird Marvel or X-Men offshoots. Now we will be move on to Dead Part, a story from I think maybe 2010. also a supposed inspiration for Red Mist. Dead Bart talks about a lost episode of The Simpsons. In it, Bart messes around and finds out. This Bart is just as chaotic as the one that we know and love, but a little more rebellious. A little more crude. Everyone is a little meaner, a little more crude in this version of the story. Kind of like the original seasons of The Simpsons. Not like the more absurd but more family friendly like that came afterwards.
But Dad...
I haven't got all day. Now leap and give it all you've got.
Do I have to?
Art? I'll get it. Good news, son. The boxing gloves have arrived.
Bart is messing around, flies out of the window of a plane as it's about to pull off the driveway, and dies. There's a funeral, and there's this whole photorealistic picture of Bart's corpse in it. Because according to the lore of the pasta, Matt Groening, the guy that directs and animates The Simpsons, right? He wanted for still things, for things that were not alive, right, to be more realistic for some reason. So his corpse has a lot of detail. And I mean, Simpsons character die all of the time, even more in the House of Horrors, right, the Halloween special. But this was different in the sense that this actually had a picture that, I mean, a drawing, right? But it was kind of like a picture in the sense that it was a pretty realistic picture of a body, of Bart's body. And also the family was way more, like I mentioned, way more like the early seasons, so way darker, Homer was, it seems to be like he was an abusive father, right? So a lot of stuff, right, that changed the tone to be a more dark, mysterious and cursed one. A year passes by, the city is in ruins, it seems like it was abandoned or something, and the Simpsons go to visit Bart's grave, because they say that's where it all started, with Bart's death. And there he is, looking exactly the same and just as gruesome as he was 1 year ago. Like, I don't know, was he never actually sepulted, or they never actually put into the coffin? I don't know. Then you have a pan out of the whole graveyard, and there is a bunch of tombstones from celebrities. So the celebrities that participated in The Simpsons, with all of their death dates. Some of them in the past, and some of them for celebrities that didn't even appear in The Simpsons yet, but that they would appear in the future. And a lot of these actually shared a specific date. This creepypasta was written by Kai Simpson in 2010 in the GameFAQs board, not 4chan for once, or 7chan. The author also made some extra additions to the pasta. There is a sequel that has some kind of hypnotic ads, futuristic ads. There's futuristic nightmare fuel stuff. That's all for the character of the pasta, right? Not the episode itself in the pasta, but for the character that reads it or watches it.
And now it's time for Everybody Loves Hypnotoad.
And then there's also a script of the first part, which basically makes the first part again, but with dialogue, which I found so much more entertaining and interesting. The characters were more fleshed out, the story was more fleshed out. I will recommend you to read it if you want to be entertained. The original story is also pretty good, right? But I don't know, I found the dialogue to elevate the story a little bit. Like I mentioned, it kind of reminisces you of the old Simpsons, where the characters' attitude were a little more grim, and we had Maggie talking, which is something that actually happened in season 1 or the pilot, I don't remember which. So yeah, there you have a little piece of trivia. With that, we come to the end of this 3-piece of the Lost Episodes creepypasta. If you liked this format better than the one-on-one, you can let me know. Also, doing it like this, I don't go as much in detail, right? The other was a 20-minute video of just one creepypasta, and this one talks about 3. So obviously stuff goes into less detail. So I plan to do a couple more in this format, a couple more in the one-on-one format, but you let me know which one you like the best. Also, I found better settings for the camera because I noticed that the syncing, right, or the frame rate looked very off and it was off-putting, and I just hated it. So if this is your first video, right, and then I only have the small dog video uploaded, please be kind because honestly it did suck a little bit. I did like 4 retries, and the one that I liked the most was that one, but it still had a lot of issues regarding the illumination and the frame rate of the video, and also kind of like the focus, right? So the actual frame that was used. Of the 3 stories, my favorite was Squidward's S-Word. It's the one that left a bigger impression in me, and it's one that I remember from my childhood as well. If you like the video, you can leave a like, you can subscribe if you want, you can leave some constructive criticism if you want to help me out a little bit. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next installment of Who is That Creepypasta with Sora. Bye bye.
Good night.